I'd like to call the order of the Pleasant Grove City Council this Tuesday evening, May the 19th, 2020 at 6 o'clock. And I'm Mayor Guy Fugel, and I welcome all those who have joined us here. We have all council present and accounted for, along with most of our staff. And we welcome those who have joined us in our audience and those by our YouTube and welcome you here this evening. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance by Dion Giles. He'll come forward and do that, after which our Council Member Brent Bullock will give us other opening remarks.
Please rise. Please repeat the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we bow our heads this evening with gratefulness for the many blessings which we have received from Thee. We ask Thee, Father, to bless us, that during this time that there will be wise decisions made regarding the city. We're grateful for the many wonderful citizens of this community and for the service which they give on a daily basis. And we ask Thee to bless them and bless those who are employed here, that they will be kept safe. We do this humbly in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dion and Brent. And I will make one comment here. I've received some feedback from those who are listening on our YouTube. So make sure your mic is on and that you are speaking into your mic. Diana? Okay. Sid? Okay, so they say they can, sometimes they can't hear us very well, so we want to make sure we accommodate them. So this evening, we'll now ask for approval of our meeting agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, we'll now open up our open session and invite anybody of our general public to come forward and address the council at this time. Is there anyone out there who would like to come forward?
Yes. Here we go.
Would you just state your name?
Roger Green. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, Mayor and Council. I'm just wondering if there's going to be any new updates for Strawberry Days. I've got a lot of friends and family that have been contacting me to see if I have any new information on how things are going or if it's going to go, and if we could, hopefully we can get things so we can at least have something so I can pass on to them. It would be nice, so appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, and I will respond to that. Roger, that's not our, we're not the Pleasant Grove Rodeo, the Pleasant Grove Strawberry Days Association, but we know that they're diligently working on that now. And I'm sure by the end of this week, or by the first next week, they'll have something out there. So I know the committee's working hard on that and seeing what their options are. Anyone else like come forward? If not, I'll now close the open session, and we'll move on to item number 6, our consent items this evening. To vote on our city council meetings, and that's the city council meetings of April the 30th, 2020, our special meeting, and also be to consider for approval payment approval reports for May the 7th, 2020. and I ask for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve our consent items as listed tonight.
We have a motion from Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Bullock. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, is there any, yeah, motion carries. Now, this is, move on down through. We don't have any Board of Commission presentations or public hearings this evening.
Mayor, can I ask a question on that really quick?
Yes.
Dan, is our planning commission full and are we good there? And where is he? Okay. Are we fully staffed in a lot of our, Scott too, are we fully staffed in a lot of our boards and commissions?
I can answer that, too.
Mayor,
But no,
probably
he's
not.
let Daniel, he's the planning commission,
Yeah.
So we are missing one member. I already talked to the
which
mayor.
is an alternate.
Yes, which is an alternate. So we usually have 9 members, 7 voting members, and 2 alternates. So right now we have 8. So, but we're looking for the extra alternate. Right, Mayor? We're doing our job in that matter. Okay.
So
Thank
we're
you.
getting that back. That's where the alternates work in really well.
Yes,
'Cause
oh yeah.
we're always up to full voting force there. Thank you, Daniel. Anything else, Councilmember
No,
Jensen?
sorry, I just wanted Daniel to walk up here.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll move on to our item number 10 this evening, which is our only action item. A, to consider for awarding BD Bush Excavating the 700 South Sewer Improvement Project bid in the amount of $339,999, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of to proceed and an agreement upon receipt of approval of the final contract documents. Director.
Mayor, Council, the item tonight is for the award of the 700 South Sewer Project. We've done a couple of phases of this over the past few years. This is the last piece to finish off the upsize of a 30-inch sewer main that is essentially from doTERRA's access that comes off of 700 South. When they did their bottling facility, we did the piece there. And so from that access across to the Gateway Village development at about 910 West, that's the only section that we haven't got upsized that is needed for our stormwater master plans and the final sizing for that for build out. So this is the last piece of that. We had 10 bidders, which was awesome to see. Very good number of bidders, and I thought we got a good price on that. The cost came in, the low bid was BD Bush Excavation with a bid amount of $339,999. And everything, we've worked with BD Bush before. They do good work, and we're comfortable recommending from staff that we move forward with the award of this project. So, any questions?
Yeah, what was the engineer's estimate?
$313,000, so it's slightly under the 339. Typically, when we see this many bidders and also kind of a good grouping, we feel comfortable that that's where the right amount is for this. So it was a good bid. It wasn't like we received one bid and it was a little bit higher. So we were just a little bit under on the engineer's estimate that they put together for this. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Marty? If not, thank you, Marty, and we'll ask for a motion on this award.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we award BD Bush Excavation the 700 South Sewer Improvement Project bid in the amount of $339,999, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award, and authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed, and the agreement upon receipt and approval of final contract documents.
We have a motion from Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second?
A second from Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And that takes care of our business items for this evening. We'll now move to 11 items for discussion. And our first one on the is item 11A, discussion of direction of the Governor Herbert's moving to the yellow risk status and impact on city facilities.
Okay, just a little history. I think everybody in the room and hopefully our audience at home is familiar with the state's color-coded system in regards to the risk that they determine from the coronavirus. So the high risk was the red stage. We were in red stage for about a month or so, the whole month of April, more or less, we were in the red stage. The next stage was orange, which was the moderate phase. That was the first 2 weeks of May. And then we had briefly, just as of Saturday, went into the yellow, which is the low-risk phase. Under each phase, there's a list of guidelines. There's a document that you can find online at coronavirus.utah.gov. If anybody would like to take a look at that, it shows the guidelines that the businesses, restaurants, anybody that's kind of doing anything needs to follow. So as a government agency, we fall within that realm. When the state went from red to orange, they actually gave us about 10 days heads up that that's what the plan was. So we had time as staff before we actually went to orange to start putting plans together to be prepared for that. Moving from orange to yellow, they didn't give us any notice. We found out, I think when everybody else found out, and that was at the governor's press conference, that we were moving to yellow as of Saturday. So as staff, that caused us now to scramble to try to figure out exactly what it means. So me personally, I thought we weren't going to get to yellow until June 1st. We had looked at the yellow guidelines. We had started making plans to prepare for yellow, but we thought we had a couple more weeks before we were actually going to pull the trigger on that. And with that, the major changes are probably more related to the recreation department. So Tyler's going to take a few minutes and talk about now team sports and things that we're allowed to do and a little bit of the logistics of doing that. One thing as we take a look at these guidelines is there are different interpretations of what these guidelines mean. And the guidelines are a little bit of a two-edged sword. Some of them are pretty narrow, which are pretty clear on this is the direction we have to go, and others are a little bit more vague, which gives us maybe a little bit more wiggle room to customize it to our needs as a city or as a business or whatever. Meanwhile, we're trying, as we try to do that, sometimes it does create confusion as to what we can or can't do or shouldn't do. So when it comes to our library and our recreation, those directors are talking to each other on a regular basis and having their own group discussions as to the interpretation of these rules. And that helps. There's a couple good things about that. It is helpful that we are consistent as governmental agencies on how we're doing this, at least in Utah County, so that we're not out on a limb doing something that, that nobody else is doing. Now, that doesn't mean we can still do that if we choose to, but it's nice that as we're working through these things that we have some sort of protection as others are doing the same thing. Now, with the rec center, Provo opened right away. We were one of the first rec centers to open in Utah County. We still have some rec centers in Utah County, even at this point under yellow, that still have not opened. And so we don't necessarily all have to be together on this, but it's one of those things as we try to figure out rules that we're trying to do that. So that's the preamble. That's the background is we are starting to interpret yellow and make decisions now on what that means for us. And so in relation to City Hall, community development, public works, police, fire, our intention as staff and recommendation to the city council is that we open, right now our doors are locked. Meaning if somebody wants to come talk to us, there's a phone number on the door, they call the number, we come open the door, or we have the conversation with them without having to have a physical interaction, and we take care of their issue by limiting our exposure to people. And so our intention would be to open the doors. So what we recommend is that we open the doors Tuesday, so the Tuesday after Memorial Day, so next week. We still need a little bit of time for preparation. We're still trying to work on some hand sanitizer issues. This is really one of the big issues everybody's trying to get resolved is getting hand sanitizer. So Tyler's working on connections, Sherry's working on connections. Denise has some connections on trying to get some of this stuff. So we have it on hand, we have it available for the public and for our employees. So that would be our intention and recommendation, is that that's when we would, in essence, open up those facilities. We also, I'm going to have Tyler and Sherry kind of, because they're a little bit more, there's a little bit more detail that needs to accompany with what they're doing. So I'll have them talk about where they're at and what they would recommend to you in regards to how they want to move forward. There are just a couple things that I want to update the council on that we're working on. One is we are working on having a clearance for each of our employees in regards to the symptoms for the virus. So you come into work, you're going to, in essence, fill out something online that says, I don't have any of these symptoms, so that we have a protection as a city, that we are doing our best to protect our employees and the public that come and interact with us, to try to limit. Now, we're telling employees, if you have some of these symptoms, stay home. If you can work from home, great. If you need to take a sick day, we can accommodate that as well. And our employees have been pretty good. We're just wanting to make sure that we're covering ourselves. So that's something that we're getting figured out. Under yellow, we have opened up our playgrounds as of Saturday morning. And we're working on, because of how quickly this moved, we're working on signage that we can put up. We already have signage up that talks about social distancing, that talks about those types of protections. We still have the water fountains closed off. But we're working on additional signage that just, so there's an understanding that we're not sanitizing our playground equipment every hour. We don't have a staff member that as soon as a kid touches something that we're behind them, wiping it down. So the cleaning is limited on our playground equipment.
Are we cleaning it all, Scott?
Dion, in a sense, no. If the best we're doing is maybe spraying stuff down every once in a while.
Is there a schedule, or is there a operational manual, or are we doing anything on a systematic wide basis?
To disinfect, no. To use chemicals on it, we don't have anything set up. In essence, and I think this is what most cities are doing, is essentially saying, look, the facility's there, you can use at your own risk. And like I said, if we do some spot washes here and there, that's the level that we're going.
Scott,
But it doesn't sound like we're doing even spot washes. Is that right? I mean, we're not.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, we don't have a regular rotation on that, but we can if there's something that we feel like we need to wash
Our
down.
playground equipment provider, remember that link? I think we're looking at some of that, though, correct? The
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizer. Right?
Yeah, so we're ordering hand sanitizer stations for each of our parks, which the physical structure we're going to have soon. The actual hand sanitizer that goes in there, we don't have. And so we're working on that. But the idea is that we will have an ability before kids play on the playground, they can sanitize their hands and then they can play on it. But we want to let you know, they were taped up for 6 weeks, and now they're not taped up anymore. Saturday I drove around just checking out Downtown Park, Discovery Park. Not a whole lot of kids on the playground. Most people probably didn't know that they were open. We did put out a press release letting people know. But as the weather gets better and better, I think we'll see a little bit more of a participation on that. I want to address social distancing enforcement. So on our playgrounds, when we get to opening our pool, when we're doing our baseball and softball programs, essentially we're going to be letting people know that we would encourage you to social distance, but staff is not going to be walking around telling people, hey, you're 3 feet apart, you need to move. I mean, we're in essence going to put it on people to just abide by those guidelines. So I want to make sure council's comfortable with that. I really want to prevent employees from having to be social distance police and getting into verbal arguments or whatever. But in essence, we're saying, particularly when we open the pool, Are kids going to social distance when they're in the pool? Not likely. And so, are the lifeguards going to blow the whistle and say you're not social distancing? Right now, our intention would be no. The intention is you got a social distance on the deck, that's the requirement. And then I think as we were reading closer, within the pool, it doesn't necessarily say they have to social distance within the pool. But right now, Tyler's still trying to interpret what our capacity can be in the pool, and what the rules are going to be for that. But we are moving forward with the intention of opening the pool on June 1st. And probably our big issue will be making sure we have enough lifeguards.
Has the Board of Health come up with any guidelines, any suggestions?
Has who?
Board of Health.
Utah, the county?
Utah County.
We have engaged with them. I don't know, Tyler, have we got any feedback from the county health department on swim pools?
They give us a little feedback. Utah County's a little better. We've been on aquatics calls with Salt Lake, and they've been, the representative actually today was giving a little more understanding, but we want to be in direct contact with our Utah County and think about it, and have them get called back, and we'll ask questions, and they'll say, we'll get back to you. It takes a few days.
I'm sure they're overwhelmed. The health department has to sign off on our swim pool every year anyway. So pre-coronavirus, they come in and test the water and make sure everything's safe in regards to that. So, I mean, we're attempting communication. Is the county coming back and saying, here's what you can or can't do? I think they're probably not that specific, if that's fair to say. So again, the aquatic managers are all having discussions as to what these rules mean. So what we're trying to figure out right now is capacity, what we're allowed, how many people are we allowed to have in there? Because the guidelines just say limited capacity. It doesn't give us a number. It doesn't say 50%, it doesn't say 75 or 25, it just says limited capacity.
So the governor calls a press conference and says yellow, and everybody in the state has to determine exactly what that means.
Well, what was interesting is they say yellow on Thursday with the intention of moving to that on Saturday, and then they updated their guidelines either later that afternoon or the next day. So that's the first time we're seeing the updated guidelines, and now we have to react to those. And that's a little bit of the issue that we're running into, is trying to implement things when the rules are changing on the fly. And then when we have questions on interpretation, we're turning to the county health department, who has the jurisdiction of enforcement of these guidelines, and saying, okay, county, help us out, because we don't want you walking in on June 1st and shutting us down because we have too many people in the pool.
And they say, we'll get back to you.
And so right now, we're getting limited feedback as far as that's concerned. So we are not, now Sherry's going to talk a little bit about library. At City Hall, we're not going to require people to have masks that come in. We're not requiring employees to wear face masks. So I know face masks can be a little bit of a political issue. But I'll let Sherry address kind of what they're thinking in the library in regards to that. But the intentions, at least with City Hall, is that we're not going to require individuals coming on to wear a face mask. We are also looking at instilling water shutoffs again. So we didn't shut off anybody in March and nobody in April. We would like to start shutting people off in May, with the understanding that we're setting up a program that if somebody's really in a bind, we're going to work on a payment plan with them. Generally speaking, we don't do payment plans, but because of the uniqueness of the situation, we'll create the payment plan. I want to make sure council's okay with that step. Some cities are starting to shut off, other cities are still waiting. We just see people's balances rising, and it causes us concern that we're now going to have people that are going to owe $1,000. And until we shut off their water, we're not going to receive that. And people are going to get so far behind that they're not going to be able to make that payment. So our preference is that we engage in the shutoffs, and then we'll let individuals approach us that need a payment plan, and we'll work with them on the payment plan. Is there any concerns with that?
No.
I mean, that's...
No, that's great.
I don't know if we're going to get a phone call from the newspaper or something regarding, or the TV media or whatever, and I think we can handle this. I think if we have a payment plan in place, we're doing using our abilities to help residents that are maybe in a bind in regards to that.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Also, for city council meetings, we're going to start putting back on the agenda. We were going to have the committees all come and do a report, and we postponed those. So we're going to start instituting that. We're also going to have Utopia come and do their presentation. They were going to come one of those meetings in March that we ended up cutting back our agenda. So I just want to let you know, the month of June in our work sessions, we'll be having a couple of those groups come in, if they feel comfortable. If they don't feel comfortable right now coming in and doing that, we'll just push them to when they feel comfortable. But if they do feel comfortable, we'll have them come in and give you a report. In a lot of ways, kind of getting back to business as usual in regards to, how we're operating our meeting today. We can now have 50 people in the room. Which means we don't have to send anybody home if we have more than 3 of the general public show up. We still are asked to social distance within the groups of 50, so we'll continue to work through that. So if there's no questions for me, then we'll start with Tyler, and then we'll have Sherry talk about Rec and Library. Okay, thank you.
Get this plugged in here. It's good to see you, Mayor and Council. I hope you're all doing well. This is a document you guys have seen before. That with the concerns for the COVID-19, these are some of the regulations. And this is our updated copy that we would like to put out tomorrow, since we're into the yellow phase. And there is some things on here that, as we've asked from the community, how it's been going and what we've been seeing, so to give them a little bit better service still. So the hours of operation, we would like that to continue to be the same for a few reasons. It does help us as far as our staffing right now. I have staff that is still they can't come back yet due to medical concerns and a couple of other that are just trying to figure out if they can get back. We're working with them, but for that reason, and also it's our slower time, so it helps us save on costs, and we can sanitize and clean some equipment between the 12 and 4, and then our janitorial can also stay a little bit after 8 and do some sanitizing and things like that. So. Memberships, as you guys, I put a little asterisk next to the ones that I want to hit on. Memberships.
So Tyler, sorry, let
Yeah.
me just make sure that I understand. So this is your recommendation based upon yellow status?
Based on yellow now, yeah.
Okay.
And staffing, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, can I just, sometime this week or next, probably this week, what would be your recommended changes if we go to the new normal, right? Green, which is the new normal.
Okay, I'll get
So
that to you.
this same type of data,
Yeah.
given a new normal, if and when we go to that.
And I have a separate document, and I'll get that to you guys, a little more detailed. This is, so on memberships, if you guys will remember, we were just allowing members into the facility. In the yellow phase, we would like to offer it to day passes allowed as well, so memberships and day passes. Another one was we were only allowing 18 years and up into the facility, and now we would lower that down to the 14 years and older would be allowed in the facility. I think there's been a few issues that we've had with they have a pass for their kid that's a high school kid that wanted to come in and use. So I think this will be great for them to be able to come in and use the facility. The other one is group fitness classes, which is a huge hit at the Recreation Center, and they've been doing an awesome job offering online classes and doing a really good job there. But they're itching to get back into teaching in the facility, and we've heard from a few of our patrons that would see that back. We can start to offer those on Tuesday, May 26th. She's getting a schedule ready for that, and that she's marked our floor upstairs in the aerobics room that'll still allow the social distancing that needs to be accomplished there. So those are the main changes in that document. You guys have still the locker rooms will not be available. And I haven't had much feedback on that. They've been all right because we still had the restrooms available.
So help me understand the difference there. I mean, so they can go in and use the restroom, but they can't go in and change.
Shower and change.
We actually close off our locker rooms, and we refer them to the restrooms that are on the east side of our building. So
And why do you recommend that we keep that?
it's cleaning, like the sanitation issues in there for everyone that takes a shower. We would have to get on that set schedule and do it every time someone's in there sitting down, taking a shower, those kind of things. So the staffing right now is spread pretty thin to do those kind of things.
What's the total head count? You've got a total head count up there. What is it?
So depending on the different areas, the weight room is 23, the cardio is 23, and our CrossFit area is 12.
So this is not the total head count in the building?
Yeah, and so when you go to each of the areas, we have a sign right above that says total capacity.
Okay.
And we can allow more in the gym. We've said like 4 people per basket on our signs, or 4 people on a pickleball court, and those haven't been used as much. But the weight room is we've ran to capacity in the weight room because everyone can get outside and exercise, but they're missing their weights. So
Do you police that? How do you police that?
So
Enforce that, I should say.
yeah, the bottles, we bought separate bottles, 23 bottles that have weight room on them. So our front desk staff, we check those out.
Oh, cool.
And then if they go to anywhere else in the building, they have to come back down, check that back in, go to the CrossFit area. And it's been really great system so we know where people are at and how many we've got in each room. So
Good work.
yeah. Good. Any other questions on the rec center stuff or? Okay.
Can we just, so the memberships,
Oh yeah.
for May, the clock's not ticking on memberships. Our feeling is that we need to be, in essence, fully open before we can start having the clock tick. So whether that's June 1st or whenever we feel there's a comfort level that our hours are gonna go back to normal and that we're okay to have kids of any age. While we have restrictions, it's kind of hard for us to tell, hey, you have a family pass, but you still can't bring your 10-year-old. So eventually, we're going to have to get to a point where that clock's going to start ticking on the memberships again because that's a revenue issue for us. So for the time being, at least for the next 2 weeks, this is kind of where we're at. And we're going to evaluate and try to figure out what makes sense to get further open as far as things are concerned.
Tyler, I just have one more question. So are the limitations that you're recommending based upon our I want to make sure I say this right. Are they based upon our ability to stay safe? Or are they based on our ability to have employees come back and work?
I would
Is
say.
it a staffing issue?
Yeah, I'd say they both come into play, Todd. The limitations we're following from the government guidelines of capacities and things like that, and the locker rooms is talked about through all the recreation centers, and they've all said that's just a hard thing to maintain, that cleaning that often. And so, and it also comes down to a safety. If someone goes in right after someone showered, they have coronavirus, and they've sat on that same bench before we could get to the cleaning. So I'd say safety and staffing, if that makes sense.
But if we get to a point where we feel like we're ready to extend the hours and to add additional people in here, our capacity, because we're still operating at 25% of what we normally are. So we're not hitting any capacity limits with the exception of the weight room. So right now we can pretty much accommodate anybody who's showing up to use the rec center.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're acting judiciously on, we're not shutting down because we can't staff correctly. right? Because
That-
that would be inappropriate.
That's not necessarily the issue right now, but if we do go, then we have to circle back and talk about employees that we need to come back, and we'll tackle that one when we get to,
Right, so
Extend
I want to go into this of what can we open, not what do we need to keep closed because we can't staff it correctly. Right? So, okay.
Okay. And then as far as programs that we are going to offer at this, that we're trying to get off the ground and offer, just wanted to go through the ones that we've determined as a staff that we can move forward with at this time. We've got baseball, softball, machine pitch, coach pitch, and t-ball are the ones that we are putting together all the protocols for. Currently, in a lot of our programs, no one was signing up. They were opened all the way through the coronavirus, the 8 weeks that we've been down, but it just kind of went ghosted as far as no one was signing up for those programs. So we tried to, as soon as we went to yellow, we went to social media, we went to our emails and said, sign up as soon as possible so that we can, because we need to get these going by June 1st on most, and we're looking to start most of them June 1st. And we need to know, as far as equipment, what we need to order, uniforms, just all the things that usually take us 2 to 3 months to get prepared for a program. We're trying to expedite that really fast so that we can get these programs started. So the main thing is we are down in registration on a few of these programs, and we need to get them filled if we'll be able to run the program.
So Tyler, maybe this is for Tina, legal side, are you having them sign waivers or anything like that they're going to be participating in a group setting or?
We are having them sign the normal waivers. We haven't had them do anything specific for COVID-19. So the language of the general waivers, when they sign them up, when parents sign children up, is sufficient, I think, at this point.
And so the way we're looking to accomplish, we've had to do a lot of our own field usage because the Alpine School District's kind of been back and forth on what they're going to allow. So we're moving all of t-ball, coach pitch, and machine pitch that's generally been at the junior high. We're moving that all to the rodeo grounds on real baseball field. They'll probably really enjoy being on a real baseball field rather than grass, but that's what we've just had to do to be able to know for sure that we're going to run this program rather than waiting on Alpine School District to see what they're doing. So everything that would, and tennis was an option, but we usually rent all the courts from the Alpine School District, so we pulled that one for now. And if we hear something different, we may offer it midsummer. But you guys have questions on programs? Soccer will be in the fall soccer. The spring soccer, we didn't have many signups, and it usually would start almost a month and a half ago, so we ended up canceling that one.
So that was the season that starts in July for soccer.
August. That's our fall soccer.
August. Okay, so that's not.
So
okay.
yeah, we'll take registrations to do that.
Okay.
And that too is on Alpine School District. That
Yeah.
use all so hopefully we'll get the clearance to do that.
So one of the requirements is that we're supposed to check symptoms for anybody participating in a practice or a game. So we're trying to figure out what the interpretation of checking symptoms means. So these are some of the logistics that we're, again, trying to figure out to ensure that there's a safe environment for people to play without us being overwhelmed and, try not to act as doctor as to whether somebody is fit for play or not. So again, these are just things that we're working through that we are planning to have in place by June 1st.
Scott, I read that, but that was for indoor sports, not outdoor sports, correct?
Yeah, it's for any team sports. Under the
You may
yellow.
want to look at that. I think if I remember correctly, that was for indoor sports, but I may be wrong, but you had to check, any indoor sports, you had to check temperature. I think it was specifically listed for indoor sports.
Yeah, this
May
isn't
not
saying
be.
we have to check temperature, it just says we have to check for symptoms.
Okay.
And so what that, again, does that mean we just check temperature and we're okay? Do we hand them a checklist and they just have to read the checklist and say, I don't have this? I mean, these are 9-year-old kids. I mean, you know, if a parent's there, right, we can handle that, but some kids come with their friends and not necessarily with their parents. So these are just some of the logistics we're trying to kind of figure out as we do this.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else on programs? And then the last thing Scott brought up is we're really trying to figure out the pool. Brett was on aquatics call today, like I said, with the health department from Salt Lake and a lot of aquatics professionals. They, according to this phase guidelines, they went through each of them, and we are going to be able to offer swim team, swim lessons, open plunge. The open plunge, like Scott said, we just really need to determine our capacity, because it just says whatever still allows for social distancing and whatever those measurements are. We've been back and forth with a lot of different things, so we're trying to get with our health department to determine that number so we can have the right number to allow in. And so we're working through those right now. But you will see swim team and swim lessons registration go live tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, and I did find that. It is indoors. Indoors, you have to check some symptoms. Outdoors, you do not.
Where's that at, Todd?
Coronavirus.utah.gov/Utah-low-risk-phase. I'll send you the two.
Okay, I was just, the thing I was looking at said that it could be a checklist under the general guidelines. I mean, and I'll tell you, there's stuff that contradicts each other in here.
Yeah, what it is, I looked under two. There was one that said gyms, fitness classes, indoor sports, et cetera, and then there was one that said outdoor youth sports.
Yeah.
And the indoor sports is where it said symptom checking to participants prior to each competitive or practice. Where the outdoor sports that's not listed.
Oh, if that's the case, that's fantastic. That makes our life easier.
Yeah, I'll send you the two.
Yeah,
just so you
yeah,
know.
shoot that over to me. I was,
Tyler, regarding the social distancing at the pool, if the employees are not going to say anything, or maybe just a general announcement, realistically, there's not going to be much social distancing, as evidence everywhere I've been,
Yeah.
where there's supposed to be social distancing.
We've already, in the recreation center,
Yeah.
if people want to get together to talk, we're seeing that.
Yeah.
And we can't determine who's family members and who's not. So yes, that it just will not happen.
Yeah.
And we've expressed that in the aquatics meetings, and a lot of them are just saying in the water, the chlorine kills the coronavirus.
Hopefully.
And so, yeah, and so that's what we're hearing right now, but we want to.
But out on the deck, you're not going to get social distancing.
Yeah, it
either.
says out on the
Right.
deck, do everything you can to.
Yeah.
So we're working through all those protocols and
yes,
trying to do the best we
yeah.
can. And like Scott said, my lifeguards cannot focus on if someone's 3 feet next to each other.
Absolutely.
I don't want
not.
you to.
They're
Yeah, that's
watching
not,
their water and seeing if people are drowning and.
So
big
really,
lines.
the issue is how many people you can let in the pool.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we have any control over.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because once they get in there,
Yeah.
if they go on the deck, if they go in the water, we just need to come up with a number that we feel good with coming in.
well, that's not our job.
Yeah.
Our job isn't to police.
Yeah.
It's, it's to set standards and let people govern themselves.
We all know how well that goes.
But ultimately, that's called living in the United States.
Yes, it is. It is.
So,
Freedom.
So we should have that in the next couple, we're close to it, to the number. And we'll have that to you guys, so you guys know.
Thanks, Tyler, that's great.
So Tyler, do you want to touch just briefly on Councilmember Williams? What do you, and I know this is a moving target because they still haven't got all the guidelines for green, what that's going to look like. So what are you anticipating that when they go to green?
And everyone refers to this as new normal.
That's what it says. I mean, green is the new,
Yeah.
I mean, on the chart,
Yeah.
green is new normal. It's
Yeah.
not,
It's a new,
it's not, you know, how it
How
used to
it used to
be.
be.
Yeah.
it's
you
a
know.
new
And it still
abnormal.
strongly recommends that we just enforce the hand washing through signage. At the gym, that we have to really enforce signage that says wiping down your equipment before and after, which we've had in the past anyways. And a lot of those, just really enforcing those things with employees, with how we train people, and then educating the public on how important hand washing and sanitizing is.
Well, it's interesting, under green, social distancing is not required anymore.
Yeah,
And so that is in essence going back to what normal is, with a few exceptions of continued education and hygiene and making sure people are doing what they can to avoid, well, I mean, just really hygiene is really kind of what it is. So the way, and now the state is telling us new guidelines are coming out soon. And if there's an anticipation that we're going to green sometime in the near future, they're telling us we're going to give you some new guidelines for green. Right now, when you read what's under green, it pretty much says there's no social, or you don't have social distance anymore. Restaurants can operate as normal. Businesses can operate as normal. So are they going to come back? It did say mass gatherings under green are still, I don't know, there was a language in there that kind of talked a little bit about, I don't know if they're going to put a cap on, no social distancing, but you're still going to be limited. Will BYU be able to have a home game and have 65,000 fans under green? I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that we get these guidelines soon so that we can start preparing for green with anticipation of that if they give us 48 hours notice like they did with yellow, we want to be able to act quickly, but we need to get those new guidelines. They just haven't released them yet.
My coordinators and I are anxious to look at a sport without having to go through 20 different new rules on how we social distance. Just play basketball again. So we look forward to that.
With the yellow phase, are you bringing back some of the equipment like the mats and other, not yet?
No, we won't bring those back and probably till the green phase. So.
Okay, any other questions for Tyler?
good job, Tyler.
It's been a crazy
Keep
couple
up
of
the
years,
good work.
Tyler, thank you.
Can I say that they've been scrambling big time, and Tyler, Brett, I mean, really, the whole staff has been fantastic. Because like we're saying, normally we have 2 to 3 months to prepare to get ready for our baseball season. We have 2 weeks. And we have to get registrations, uniforms ordered, we have to get our umpires scheduled, we have to get coaches, we have to have a draft, the logistics are just nuts, and these guys are handling it. They're doing fantastic.
Got a good staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry, do you want to come up and we'll discuss the library?
I'm not going to hook that up, but, so library, we currently are doing the curbside from 1 to 7, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, 10 to 2. So one of the changes we'll make, we'll kind of stick to the 1 to 7 schedule, except that we're thinking 1 to 6, and then 6 to 7 can be curbside pickup still. And then Friday and Saturday, instead of 10 to 2, 10 to 11 on Friday and Saturday will be for vulnerable patrons. That and continuing curbside are in the list of things we're asked to do under yellow. Still have curbside, still have time for vulnerable patrons. So that's the idea there, is to have a couple hours, one on Friday and one on Saturday for vulnerable patrons. But otherwise stick pretty much to the schedule we're doing now. It does say on the list of things for yellow that we need to track attendance. Not sure exactly what that means. We always track numbers. And American Fork interpreted that as we need to be able to do contact tracing. So know who's been in the library. So our plan is to take a picture of either their ID or their library card when they enter.
But nothing for rec, right, but just for library?
That
That's what-
was under library, I don't know for rec.
Well, the rec they do, because you have to scan your pass every time you go in.
Let's just wait.
But the scan doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, and that's all it says, though, track attendance. I don't know.
So you're saying you would open the doors?
Yeah,
Okay, starting Tuesday?
yes.
Okay.
You may have some individuals that not comfortable with that. I'm not gonna let you, right?
We may.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see Diana's uncomfortable with that.
It does say under the rules, we track attendance. I guess we can figure out what our own interpretation of that means.
Yeah, does track attendance mean name, rank, and serial number? I mean,
I don't know.
no, it's just, it's, 40 people, 30 people.
Can you have them sign in?
Well,
That's
I don't know,
less intrusive.
maybe that's what we do, is just have them sign in.
Yeah.
Because not everybody particularly would be using their library card or checking something out.
Right.
We might have some that come in that don't check in.
Yeah, that's a little
Use the
intrusive.
Wi-Fi.
Could we have an
Yeah.
employee like with a clicker? Does it have to be by name? Like, they haven't gotten that specific?
Well, we already track it that way, because we have people counters
Well-
at the gates.
This is the problem with these things.
Yeah, so hard to.
We read these, what does that mean? We're trying to figure out what the intent of the guideline is.
I mean, if we're trying to figure it out, I'd rather err on the side of not invading privacy and not taking names. I think that's weird.
Yep,
I think
I agree.
if we have a clicker and we click how many people are in there to monitor for not more than 50, but taking a name, I wouldn't do that. I
Or
think that's
taking a
weird.
picture of their card, I wouldn't have, that's.
Because I just don't, I don't agree with
Is there
that.
someone we can ask?
Well, generally, the Utah County Health Department. Because,
them?
I mean, yeah, let's talk
Call
to the
them.
county
They'll
and
get
see if
back
they'll
to
give
you.
us an interpretation of that.
Immediately.
Well, if they're not telling you, they're not telling you have to track names. That you just
It
have,
just says
It says
attendance.
must
You just
have
have to-
ability
attendance.
to track attendance.
yeah, if I take attendance in a Sunday school class or a classroom, I just have to report the names, or the number. The number.
Well,
Along
we
with the
do
name.
check
And
off
the
their
name.
names.
And a name.
Yeah, but it
checking.
rolls up into a report that just says this many people
Yeah,
attended.
so let us
We'll
work
that out.
investigate that a little.
Yeah,
bit.
let's
We'll work
don't
on it.
try to
We'll get that
take
one
pictures
situated
of people's
before
ID.
Tuesday.
Okay. Also, we
Thumb
are
print.
going to ask that people wear a
Black.
face mask. I honestly haven't been in Costco or Home Depot, but I know that they require them, and I'm not sure how they enforce them.
At the door.
At the door.
But I mean, do they turn people away if they're
Yes.
not having them?
Yeah, or
Yes,
or
they
they give
do.
them a mask. They either give them a mask or they turn them away. But
So
when I,
Yeah,
They
so
were
we
handing
don't
out
have a
masks.
stock of masks to give people, but I would prefer that people wear a mask. Again, though, staff isn't going to want to be the police on that, so.
I don't
I
want
guess
to.
here's my question is, are we gonna be consistent across like the board, or do we need to be with different departments? Because like the rec doesn't require patrons, and if city hall doesn't, and then library does, that could be confusing for residents. Is there a way we can put up like a guard?
I understand that, but they are kind of different
Contact.
problems.
Yeah.
There's so many surfaces to sneeze on in the library that can then be taken home, and, it's just a little bit of a different.
Yeah, for City Hall, foot traffic for us could mean 5 people in a day.
Okay.
And for the library, that could be 100 people in the day, so.
And rec,
Me
it's
personally, I don't
unrealistic
have
to
an
ask people to wear
issue.
minimal exercise.
I don't have an issue with libraries saying, we want masks, and everybody
That makes
else
sense
is
with
not
more hard
necessarily saying
services.
that, yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't think you
and
require it.
I do
I
think
think you
staff
just,
would feel safer too.
I think you can put a sign out that says recommended.
I mean, we could require it.
What happened is, when they did recommend it, most of the people
They
didn't
didn't.
wear it.
Well,
Right.
That's
They
their
just said,
their
"I don't like
choice,
it."
right? I mean,
That's why Costco went to that decision.
yeah, and that,
He
that's why
said,
I
you want to
haven't
come
been
in, get a mask. We'll provide one for you if you don't.
Yeah, so I'm looking for input on that one.
This is me, I say no. I say if they're choosing to come to the library, right, you can require the workers to wear the masks and gloves if you want, but across the board, I know it's different, but the rec center, we're not doing it. I just think, Unless we're prepared to provide all those masks and be ready, then yes, okay, fine. But if not,
Well,
if they
most
feel
people
comfortable wearing
have
their own
them.
masks in and being prepared that way, great. But if so, to me personally, I say no.
I think we need to remember that the guidelines state that as long as you're social distancing, you don't need a mask. The only time you are recommended to wear a mask is when social distancing is impossible or difficult. And so if you feel that social distancing in the library is difficult,
Yeah,
then
I'm not
I'd
really
recommend
worried
I
about
think
them
that we're,
sneezing on each other. I'm worried about them sneezing on
The books.
the books.
And I can see that. I mean,
We can strongly recommend it,
yeah.
and
It's just gonna get down
if
to
somebody doesn't
enforcement.
have a mask or just chooses not to, then they can come in. But if that means that 7 out of 10 are gonna wear a mask, we're 7 out of 10 ahead of not having masks, if that
I
makes
think
sense.
That's fair.
if we explain that, like in the wording on the website and getting it out to the public, that we recommend you wear a mask due to, the numerous hard surfaces we have in the books, the sneezing, whatever. I think if we explain, because when you said that, that makes more sense. Is there guards that they can put up for the employees behind the desk or anything?
Yeah, they've already put
those
up,
are instead, those are in
Okay.
place.
put some up, yeah.
And are you requiring the employees to wear masks?
Yes,
Okay,
they are now,
okay.
even just among each other.
Do they wear gloves or,
Yes,
okay.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
their
I do
libraries
thi-
touch more stuff than anybody
Yeah, I
else.
think
Yes, we
you are touching more stuff, and patrons are too. And it's true, you could sneeze on 10 books. I don't know.
Oh, it would have way more than 10.
So, yeah, I can see that.
If we're gonna require it, then we need to have masks available for people if they don't have one. And if we don't have that capacity, then I'd recommend that we strongly recommend people have masks.
And I think that's all we can do, is strongly recommend.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something right now that's probably going to get me in trouble, but I don't care.
Just think about it twice.
Nope, I'm going to say it. I honestly believe that people are smart enough to know if they're compromised or not. And I think I want to make sure that the decisions that we're making are still giving people the opportunity to be smart enough to know if, when they enter a location, they're entering at their own risk. That's how we have been for eons of time. And I want you to make sure that the employees feel safe, but we can only recommend or suggest that people take their own health into their own hands. And I don't want government to make the decision if someone is smart enough or not.
Agreed.
And so I'm just going to say that.
Spot on.
I'm
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are asking people to keep their visits to 20 minutes or so. We're removing furniture, so most people will probably be able to do that. If they go a little longer while browsing, we're not going to kick them out unless they're staying for hours. But we're just trying to truly keep it as a grab-and-go service rather than a traditional library service, so that there isn't congregating. But after school times, obviously school's out, but normally after school, we have a lot of congregating, and we love that. Every table's full, every chair is busy, people have their laptops, and the place is packed. So unfortunately, that's what we're trying to avoid. So no furniture, no computers. Eventually, we're hoping to add some computers back, because I hate to take that away from people who need it.
Yes.
But temporarily, until we can see what this new normal is, we're taking them away, until we know how much time we can give to that. And if the building is looking really crowded, we're going to ask people to wait until some people have left.
Is there a way you can track that, though, that you know specifically when that last person has come in or how many is there, so it's not,
We
you're just
haven't
not
come up
eyeballing
with a
it?
number yet. So, and we can try to do that. That would mean tracking who goes in and who goes out, which we'd have to pretty much assign one person to figure that out, which we don't have the employees to do that. I really don't think it's going to be crazy crowded. I think a lot of people, like Diana said, are going to protect themselves, people who are nervous about locations like this. And when they can't come in and just sit, I think a lot of people, you know, I'm not too worried about crowds. If it starts to become a problem, then we'll, you know, if it starts to feel crowded, we'll go from there.
I mean, is there a way that you can say the max in the building at the time, 50 people?
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out.
Okay,
I haven't yet, but
okay.
yeah. I don't quite know the math yet, because I don't actually know the square footage of our building. So,
But if you just go off the governor's guidelines of the 50 people, and just regardless of, I mean, if there's 50 people, like, that's all that can go into the building, like, is it something like that?
So I'm thinking 4,000 square feet. I don't
well,
know.
50 is for
What's your-
groups.
Yeah, so
Oh, it's
this is
different.
part of the contradiction.
That's true.
They're telling us a swim pool, we can have more than 50, which goes
Gotcha.
against what Yellow says as far as the gathering is concerned, so.
So you're saying you could possibly have more than 50 because they're spread out?
Right.
Gotcha.
But honestly, I don't think we will.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
It would be a pleasant surprise if we did.
okay.
And then we are posting signs that say, please don't come in if you are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, and we're posting what those symptoms are.
Yeah.
And also, this is dependent on hand sanitizer. Like Tyler said, we're working on that. And I was telling them, I went into a convenience store in Park City, and stuck to the doors, they had those little, you know, the little wax paper things you use to get donuts at grocery stores. They had boxes of those stuck to the door. So you could just take one of those, open the door,
Oh, that's good.
and
That's a
then
great
toss
idea.
it. So I ordered a bunch of those for the library too. Just
What about programs and classes?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I love that.
programs and classes we're not doing. Well, besides, we're continuing the online.
Okay.
We just don't have the space to social distance properly, and kids don't. I mean, a 3-year-old's not going to social distance, so.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're just not doing it for the summer.
Okay.
Thanks, Sherry.
What if we go to green?
Well, summer is kind of out at this point, because it takes a lot of planning for summer reading program, and we've got other things happening for summer reading that have replaced the programs.
Okay.
So summer, I mean, it could change, we could do an occasional program, but our programs are huge in the summer. I still think we're gonna, no matter what, we'd probably go above the number.
Okay. Gotcha.
So as of now, we're not doing programs.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Sherry? No, thank you. Look forward to our library being open.
I mean, a shout out to Tyler, but also to Sherry.
Thank you.
I mean, they are the ones that are dealing mostly with the public on a more
Public-facing.
consistent basis. And just the curbside library has been a wonderful service. I was out in the parking lot for a minute this afternoon, saw 3 people come and drop off books.
Has that been
Me-
pretty busy, Sherry?
And
That's
they were driving through the book drop, which means that they checked them out sometime earlier.
Right.
And that was in the course of about 10 minutes is what I saw. So, again, the services, we're doing a pretty good job of providing and staying operational here as a city. We feel like we really haven't missed a ton as far as what we're doing. You know, we are ready to do what we need to accommodate Yellow and get a little bit more open, but the staff's been wonderful on figuring out ways. When you talk about the wax paper, they've been figuring out ways. The squirt bottle thing at the rec center is kind of genius in a way.
Yeah.
They're sitting down and figuring out this is how we can make sure we're keeping our
We're
capacity.
counting.
So a lot of creative thought.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Scott?
No, as far as what we're talking about tonight, no, that's all we have.
Okay,
What about police, fire? Are they,
Oh, sorry. So police is already open.
okay,
They have the protective shields already. Fire is that front door is always locked.
Okay.
I mean, even when we're not under coronavirus, if people need to talk to the fire, they just hit the intercom and then we do that. I do want to address Memorial Day. I talked with the mayor the other day. The idea of us having a gathering of vulnerable people for Memorial Day just doesn't seem to make sense this year. So the mayor's asked that I craft a statement from the mayor and the council, a salute to our veterans. And so I'll write that up. I'll have you guys take a look, and then we'll post that on Memorial Day in lieu of doing a program.
Good idea.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. I will now go to our director's business. Let's, Marty, let's start with you in the back there. Then I will comment, Marty, that it's nice seeing some black asphalt go down, and I've received quite a few comments how they love the road up there.
Good.
900 West?
Yeah, they
Yes.
just finished
Yeah.
9th West and 2100 North this week. Doing manholes and valves right now. They should be done by the end of the week. We should have a final walkthrough probably next week. So that project went well. I think it'll be a good project when we're all done for a lot of years to come. So everything tested really well. We fixed a lot of soft spot areas that we found during the process, and it should be a great road. So 1100 North obviously got repaired as well. This last week they finished that after they finished the 9th West. Those two little patches that we had there, and they look great. So not expecting any more concerns there. A lot of things still moving forward. We're finishing up the Battle Creek screening structure, the intake structure up in Battle Creek, just below the falls. Started putting water in yesterday morning into the system. It's working beautifully. And hopefully we're very optimistic that it's going to help us a lot in that area where we had to take so much of that debris load out of the water before we could filter it and get it into that top zone.
Wow.
It's looking like it's going to make a big difference. So I got pictures of that. I was going to show it, but I was first, so I can't show it now. So, but anyways, there's a lot of things going on. We've got a lot of projects that have just started getting off the ground. 150 West will start next week. So that's between 1300 East and 1400 East. We're currently working on a 1300 West between Pleasant Grove Boulevard and First South. We'll start the 22nd of June right now, so it's about another month out. We've got the storm drain projects anyways. We've got a lot of projects. All of them are in the process of getting started right now, so it'll be a very busy summer, and looking forward to seeing some more progress. So any questions for us? I think the overall department's doing well. Things are moving. Everybody's getting lots of work done and trying to keep everybody happy with things. So,
Any questions for Marty? Not, thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
You know, Daniel, why don't you come forward? You know, it's pretty uncommon. We don't hear from you all night long. And
That's actually a bad sign. We like hearing from Daniel.
exactly.
Trust me, there's some things
I know.
No, usually when a project comes to you guys, there's like months of preparation. So right now we're hitting the projects that, well, you know, during the winters it's lower time. So this is the time actually, because during the winter we're also busy too. I mean, I don't have much. Just you know, we're ready to open. We're preparing. Everyone's staff is ready, and you know, we're open for business. So we're just there.
Daniel, has the move been, is it 100% complete?
For us, yes, and it's
Okay.
been a success. We love our new office. I think it's a great place. Furniture is fantastic. The space is great. The new lighting features are really good, and I think it's the best even for residents when they come to our office. It's more welcome. Our front counter is huge. It's big. It's ample. It's bright. So I think even for residents, it's even better for them. So we went online for building permits. So all building permits can be submitted online now, which is easy. You can submit for a garage in your pajamas, which is great, right? I mean, you don't have to come to our office. You can do it from home. So I think it's something good for our department that we've been doing lately. So yeah, that's what happened, Mayor and Council.
so along with that, you know, we've got a Zoom meeting with St. John's on Thursday. You guys were invited. Who wanted to attend? It's going to be interesting to see what that's all about, on what money they're gonna spend in Utah here and in Pleasant Grove. Hopefully they got some big announcement of more that they're gonna do down there.
Yeah, great projects are coming. So I think we've done a good job with what we have, and we're looking forward for the new projects.
So, thank you, Daniel.
Okay, my pleasure.
Be glad to have your doors open. Been kind of quiet over there. So, Chief Thomas, would you? And Chief, I know the county mayor's call, I want to know if you guys are having, you and the PD are having problem with PPE or not, because the county says we should be able to have all we want. Is that correct?
So we are not having trouble right now, and really that's for one reason, and that reason is really because of you folks, because you opted to give me an administrative assistant, and she is an internet digger, and she's keeping us in PPE, so we're in really good shape there. Two things that are really kind of nice. One is that we received a $10,000 grant from Micron, and that's going to go toward a UVC light decontamination system. So it's like a big old light, you put it in the back of an ambulance, and it just kills the bugs that are back there. And so we're also getting some handheld ones so that we can use them on some of the other flat surfaces and stuff, so we're pretty excited with that. And that just barely came around. The other thing that we've got going on is with the change with dispatch, then our dispatch system in the station was not very compatible with that. And county dispatch had invested in a more electronic version of that for fire departments that were in our position. And their investment was fairly sizable. And it made it so that they could dispatch in a different way, but it also meant that we had to retrofit our system. And they are in the station right now, the electricians are in the station right now retrofitting that. And so in the near future, then all of our dispatching will be done electronically. Lights and sound will be connected to that, including some other features, so that we won't be dependent on just a radio. We'll actually be able to have some backups and stuff. So we're really excited about that too. And they're in the process of getting that installed right now. Other than that, everybody's healthy. We're in pretty good shape. We're happy. We did take one ambulance out of our 3 ambulances. We did take one of those ambulances, stripped it completely down, took everything out of it. And that's our Corona transport vehicle. And that way, when we had to transport a person that that was possibly contaminated, then we didn't have to come back and replace all of the stuff in there. It was easier to decon that when we were finished. And so when they get on scene, if they think that's what they've got, then they'll put a call in for that, and we'll transport them in that ambulance. And that's worked out really well and saved us a lot of work. So other than that, we're good.
That's great.
Thanks.
Good work.
Thanks, Chief. Chief, come forward and tell us how the PD's doing.
As far as the PPE goes, we're doing well. The county's been great to work with, and Lindsay's been phenomenal at procuring what we need, so we've got all we need to work with. As far as the PD goes, we're busy with the weather warming up, and still being a couple guys down. We're covering shifts as quick as we can, using a lot of overtime. We're in the process right now of doing background checks on three guys that we've been in the interview process with. I say guys, they're actually young kids. They're three guys is right out of the academy, so they're green as green, but they look like some good options. If we can get through the background checks with them and hopefully offer them some jobs, they looks like some good options. Really, really hard to train 3 guys at the same time, so I may have to pull a couple of detectives out of investigations and put them on the road for a couple months while we try to train 3 guys at the same time. That's a lot of work, but we can make do with it and make do for a while. Just busy. I've got the information you requested. I'm going to put it on our Facebook page tomorrow for the Neighborhood Watch stuff, so some good information if you want to share that to your pages. That'd be great, and just kind of get some information out there for the people. And last, I just wanted to make a shout out to Tamara Oborn. Usually every spring we do a drug take back with the DEA, and it's a great program. We usually get about 50 to 100 pounds of prescription pills that we end up taking back to the incinerator and burning, and we didn't do that because of COVID this year, so she kind of took it upon her with PG Cares and put it out on her page, and so people have been using our drug box out there like crazy. We've emptied it several times over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and so it was nice of her to do that and kind of take that burden since we haven't had a whole lot of time, so.
How long is that going to be out there?
Yeah, how
It's
long?
out there all the time, 24/7. It's
Got
just, usually we do a big media thing with the DEA, and we do it down in Smith's parking lot, or Macy's parking lot, and people come down. It's kind of their one time a year where they get rid of everything, but
Yeah.
we just didn't do it this year, and it was,
So is that something you want us to post on the city page too?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we've posted
you
it
po-
on ours every
Okay,
now
so you
and
post it
then.
on yours, okay.
Yeah, just
That-
kind of remind
yeah,
people that
let's
it's
get the
there.
word
and
out. That's awesome.
It was
Like
kind
you
of the
said.
premise of hers that with
Mental health and.
with medical stopping any, non-committal surgeries right now, that people were kind of ramping up with their pain pills, and doctors were prescribing pain pills instead of doing surgeries, and so it was kind of a good thing for PG Cares to do, and it helped us out a lot, and so
That's awesome.
it's there, so thanks to her.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
That's about all I have.
Any questions, Chief?
Good work, Chief.
Good job.
Yeah,
Keep them
thank you.
going.
Thank you.
Dion, Director Giles.
Just a couple things. I didn't tell Scott because it was after I talked with him this morning, but the playground signs are installed. They got here today and they're installed. They're basically the COVID signs for the social distancing plus a little bit of wording, use safe hygiene, that type of thing. So anyway, there's multiple at each playground. So instead of just one sign, there's multiple. Staff and I have talked quite a bit. We are going to staff cemetery this weekend. We figured out how we could do the social distancing, so we'll have staff there they'll be there at 6 in the morning doing flags till 8 at night to help those looking for spots. So
That's
should
nice,
work out
Dion.
pretty good. So they've kind of figured out and come up with a plan to keep them safe and the patrons safe. Other than that, grass is growing. It's a crazy time of year. Tyler's going to keep us busy here in a little bit. So, any questions?
I bet the goalie boxes look good.
Yes, they look good.
Well, it's just that all of the fields have had a very nice rest.
They've actually been really busy
Good.
with, there has been a lot of Super League teams practicing, but there's been a lot of families also doing things on them, so they've been busy. But yeah, we don't have the wear and tear we normally do.
Yeah.
So Dion, with what happened with Lehigh, where they parked the vehicles on the field, have we had the problem, this is a question for you or Tyler, with the Super Leagues having organized play on the fields?
So what we're gonna, Tyler and I haven't talked about this yet, but last year we rented out a field, the fields on Monday nights, I believe. And this year, I just don't see us having that option with trying to get our leagues in play. We're gonna have, I think they're gonna have a challenge just getting those games lined up and played, especially if we start getting some rainstorms and those types of things.
But what if they just show up like unexpectedly?
In the past, we haven't really addressed the issue because it's a public facility, right? And so they've practiced. The only thing that we get a little upset is, and if we can catch them, is they will go out with four-wheelers and drag the diamonds and do their own little thing, leave water on and that type of thing. But we haven't really addressed that.
Well, the issue with Lehigh is they had a group that was told that they couldn't use the fields, and they said, we're gonna do it anyway, and it was gonna be an organized tournament.
Yeah,
So they were just gonna show up and have this tournament, and the city of Lehigh said, you haven't filled out a permit. There's a liability issue with you doing this tournament on our fields, and so that's why they parked the vehicles on there, was to prevent them
we would
from
probably
holding
do
the
something
tournament.
similar. I mean, when we rent the facilities to the Super League teams, they have to prove insurance and all that kind of stuff. part of the rental, so.
Okay,
But we haven't had that I'm aware of here.
okay,
So, I mean, there has been a team here and a team there once in a while, but.
okay, awesome, thank you.
And then just to update on the trail day, Jason and I have talked pretty extensively. We just don't have the moisture in the ground right now to be successful in making some trail repairs. So we're gonna use service projects to do some of the maintenance, but the big repair work, along with the heavy use that's getting now, we're gonna do that this fall. So we'll do some service days this fall. Once the teams can reorganize and come as a team and help, then we'll start doing that.
Okay, okay. Well,
Thank you.
Okay. See, I don't think, Tyler, you have any more to add to us, or Sherry? I think we've had you. Denise, do you have anything for us tonight? Denise? Kathy? Tina?
Just to let you know that I have moved offices, so if you're looking for me, come in the old courtroom. I'm next to Scott. And then while they're remodeling the other half of City Hall, my staff was in the basement. So the prosecutor is in the mayor's office in the basement, and the legal assistant is actually in the conference room. So we're a little displaced, but things are going well, and that's it.
We call that the mayor's suite down there. But you get 2 councilmen in there and it's full. So it's Scott, and you want
Well,
to, let's,
I just want to say, I don't have a new office, don't come looking for me.
yeah.
Oh, you guys all have my phone number, so.
You want to talk about our next council meeting? Well, we've got,
Yeah,
is there anything else to add?
I mean, right now, we do have some work session items that I'm going to try to get Utopia here. I haven't confirmed that yet. We also will be having a discussion on our budget with some of the considerations that we've been talking about as staff, which we shared with you some of these things that we want to talk about. So we'll want to kind of circle all that back together in that discussion regarding the budget.
Okay.
And I think, did we have a June 2nd? Was there anything else on there, Kathy? Sorry. Come back to me, Mayor, and I'll see what else is on there.
Okay. Kyler?
I just want to read this comment. It's in regards to, I think, something that took place in the meeting, but it's a public comment from Andy Vinker. It says, under outdoor recreation, youth outdoors sports, including parks, playgrounds, pavilions, parades, it says, participants should have their symptoms checked prior to each competition or practice.
Okay. We appreciate that feedback.
So that's outdoor? Okay.
Well, I responded to Todd's email. It does say in there that participants need to have their symptoms checked, even for outdoor sports.
Indoor and outdoor, okay.
And like I
Hey,
said, it's
Scott.
tricky, and so sometimes it gets a little contradictory, but that's the stuff we're working on.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, you
Yeah.
see some more items there.
So we have, we'll be doing a budget amendment for our current year budget. We have a couple items that we need to get in front of you to change up before our budget ends here at the end of June. We also have, and maybe Daniel will need to speak to this if you have questions, but we do have a zone change request to allow permitted uses in the interchange, which is retail trade that could include tobacco and tobacco products within the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone. The applicant is Daniel Thomas with St. John Properties. They have a potential tenant that would like to have a use in that manner. We also have a purchase agreement where we're selling property to Stonegate and one of the neighbors up there. I think we've talked to you about this in the past. This is the final part of it in order to close the deal, but in essence, selling excess property to them that we don't necessarily need to use to help accommodate some of the things that they would like to do there. And then we have Rocky Mountain Utility and easement agreement. I'm not sure if that's Marty, Tina?
It's Dion.
Dion.
It's simple, it's routine matter.
Okay. So that's what we have. So right now for work session, we don't have anything, but we will have a couple items.
Okay.
That's what I was explaining. So like I said, kind of back to normal schedule, regular schedule on June 2nd.
That's good. Thank you. Councilmember Jensen over here. You have anything for us tonight?
I have nothing.
Oh, I didn't know you were over there.
Hi.
Nothing for Brent?
Nothing.
Councilman Williams?
I don't, and I'm gonna run because I've got a 7:30 graduation, 2020 graduation ceremony.
Yay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna run.
I'll get with you on a couple things I'm going to bring up.
Call me.
with you afterwards.
Because you know I'm going to say something.
No, thanks all.
Councilmember Anderson.
I just have one thing. Very shortly after our last meeting, a wonderful citizen of Pleasant Grove passed away, Jeremy Hall. The first time I met Jeremy he was an honorary colonel and was dedicated to the public safety building. And he was dedicated to Pleasant Grove City. And he would take pictures of events, and I don't believe that we ever paid him, or I think he was just volunteering. His journey through cancer was inspirational for a lot of us, and I just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. Do you have the date on his memorial that they're going to have?
Dion,
I've got it. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Did you have it, Eric?
I thought it was June, wasn't it June?
10th? Or,
I want to say 6, but.
Yeah,
oh, that's right.
it's the 6th. Okay.
Remarkable man.
All right. Well, I've got just a couple of things I want to share with you. They were, also, you guys were, I think, received the email on the ranked voting. Wanted to know if they wanted to come and have them come and do a presentation. And I replied that we weren't interested at this time.
Thank you.
So anyway, so I just want to make sure, because I was kind of speaking for the council there, I didn't want to bring, well, especially where we don't have one coming up this year anyway. So maybe in the future we can look at that if you so please. But right now, I says we're not interested. So.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing is I'd like to bring up to you, and I have a thing of 13 pieces of art here that have been donated to the city by Utah artists, and even one of them is a scene, some of Battle Creek, some scene of Battle Creek there. So, and this family at this time wants to stay in, but. They're met with them and their art curator, I guess, is that how you say it, curator?
Curator.
And the 13 pieces would fit really nice on all the vacant walls in the lobby. That will become property of the city. So, and then after the fact, they will have them hung, and some of them still need to be framed, and they'll do that. And that donation, I just want to make sure. If you guys were all okay with that, and take care of some of the bare walls.
Just one single artist or many different
A
artists?
variety of artists.
Oh, I'd
Utah
love to see
artists.
them. Okay.
So it's 13 portraits that they have. And yes. So they were measuring walls today, and I thought they said they were going to. Maybe if they wanted to put, and I said, well, I don't think you need that. I'll just run it by the council and make sure. So is that all right with the council to accept that offer? Is that all right?
Do you have pictures of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they requesting it, that they go in this building specifically, or do they just say anywhere that we want it?
Anywhere we want to, but she and I, the gal came today at 10, and they says, oh, she was just in heaven, just in the lobby area with finding pieces to go. She says, we need to find you more art because you've got a lot of bare walls. So anyway. So.
Well, we have another building too.
And
Yeah,
Yeah.
community development, they need some
and we,
artwork as well.
so anyway. But since we're still in that, they got a place for all of them in that hallway, and we'll see how we live with them, and then it's up to us what we want to do with
Do with
them.
them after.
Okay.
That's great.
Daniel had some decorating ideas of soccer balls in the community development lobby, so just
bet he did.
be aware.
So,
I'd like to second that motion. Bundesliga started this week, by the way.
so this will probably be,
That sounds
if,
exciting.
if you guys all give your thumbs up, to, probably in 2 weeks after they frame a few more pieces. So, all right. Well, yeah, we got a plat here, and then also for the disbursements. Well, we didn't go that way with them. Did you get it?
Are you talking about the plat?
Sid was kind of
Oh, no.
hoarding it right there.
She's
She
hoarding.
can see you. So if there's no other business that the council has we want to bring up, I would ask for a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?